it's inevitable that your culture is going to die here and there. You can't stop it, but what you can stop is finding the source of why the culture is dying and fixing it super fast.
Yeah, not sitting on stuff.
What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, owner of Swamp Rabbit Moving, and I got my co-host Ray Mack with Mack of All Trades in the Damian Hall Group. Today we got a special guest, Chef Mike with White Wine and Butter. Chef Mike, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, bro. How y'all feeling?
Doing good, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what you got going on right now. What got you into like the restaurant or the service industry, and you know what do you got cooking up right now?
Oh man, we seen the need for the market, and right now, if you've been following us, you know we got the restaurant, we have our catering, we have private dining, and we just opened a venue in West Greenville. So that's getting ready to jump off real soon, and working on getting our own commissary kitchen because we need that.
Wow,
nice. How long have you been out on your own as like an entrepreneur chef?
Probably like the last 3.5 years,
okay.
Or I don't know where we at now. What happened like after COVID to see where?
So that's about 3 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like COVID kind of helped create this. So that's where we at right now.
Nice.
Me and my wife, we got together and did the whole American dream, like buy a house and open a restaurant and get married at the same time. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jeez.
The restaurant industry, like I'll always hear, I don't know if it's true or not because I'm not in the restaurant industry, but I hear it's such a tough industry to like stay alive and like.
It's not for everybody. You gotta be built for it. It's definitely like you gotta be a strong breed for it or whatever. And you have a lot of people who just have money and open restaurants because that's what you do. You're a celebrity or you got money, you open a restaurant, you can
slap
do that.
Your name on it.
Yeah. But it's a lot different for somebody where it's your passion, it's what you love, it's what you do, and it's an art. You love
sure.
it.
What were you doing before? So you started out with catering, right?
Yeah.
What were you doing before you started out doing catering?
Making money for other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I let me rephrase that. Like, I work for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Working your way up the ranks after finishing culinary school, then quick service restaurants, hotels, like Five Diamond Hotel, which I really enjoy working at the Westin, and then like taking on lead positions like sous chef. I took a sous chef position like really young, and that was cool. A learning experience. I took that really quick and went back home a little bit, because I thought you were ready for the world. So you move out, you come to the big city of Greenville, and you get humbled, and then you gotta go back home for a little bit, regroup, and came back here and saw opportunities here, and I fell in love with country clubs because I was that whole restaurant thing of working till midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. I never really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
That was never really my thing. I wanted to have a life. I wanted to have, friends and family. And I missed a lot of that growing up. I missed a lot of that coming up in like restaurants and stuff like that. So everybody's birthday, I missed everybody's birthday. We miss all the holidays because we're working, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all those things like that. But just being able to come back and get the opportunity to open my own thing and build those company morals and those company guidelines of like, this is what we do and this is what we won't do. These are hours. This is when we're open. This is when we're closed. So
setting those guidelines. So let's back up. So you said that you started and COVID helped build your restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of like the opposite of what really happened for most restaurants. So how were you able to open a restaurant during COVID whenever everybody else was shutting down?
I mean, kind of like think about it like the stock market and stuff like that. When everybody is like selling, people are buying.
It's a good time to buy.
Yeah. So that was a good time for us to buy. We took advantage of the situation. We didn't just lay down. The unique situation about that, when I was at the country club, about well over half of my staff, in the kitchen, they was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be safe and get this check. And, as the executive chef, me and my brother, and we had our dishwasher, he stayed back and helped too. We basically ran the whole club by ourselves. And that was a touching point where we looked at each other one time. We're just pumping out so much food. And we was like, man, we can definitely be doing this for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, we can definitely do this ourselves. We're just here making everybody else money, following everybody else's rules, and doing things their way, and
cooking their recipes.
Yeah. Like, and we have the talent, we can do it ourselves. And my wife is really the glue to all that, like, because she's the one who set me down a long time ago, and she was like, bro, you know how much you made, you know how much you made this month and how many hours you worked. And I'm like, I'm looking at the hours I work and then looking at the salary. I'm like, oh, that's tough. That's tough. So
cool. So that's cool how it inspired you to kind of turn that around. Now, what are some of the hardest things you dealt with trying to open the restaurant? I know from when I met you, you were dealing with construction over a year trying to get this place open.
Delays, construction. If there's a date that somebody says something's going to open, man, you might as well go ahead and add about a few months on top of that or more. Like, easily add some months on top of that. But it's good, man. It's good learning. It's like doing reps or whatever. Like, so we've already been through that, and we are, well ahead of the curve now when we start talking about, building something else or next ventures or what we're going to come up with next. So we're like way ahead of the curve. Like, that was a struggle, dealing with the construction. Staffing, like, at first we were staffed. Like, we had people lined up ready to go, like sending in resumes, reaching out to us
before you were even open.
Yeah, reaching out to us on Facebook, Instagram, because I was like, "Now, I see what you're doing. I like it. We want to work with you."
That's good.
And things like that. And like, the ones who held on, like, man, we appreciate the ones who held on. We ended up losing a few people because it took too long. Some people had to make decisions that was best for their self and their family, and I would never fault them for that. But I really appreciate the people who held on and just like, nah, man, we here with you. Like, we understand what's going on. We see the vision, and we want to be a part of it.
That's cool.
And like, I mean, our company's nothing without our core. So that core group of people who helped us open and are still with us, like, those are the ones. Like, that's what you do it for. That's what you do it for.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. What did it look like once you decided, like, what were the first couple steps you took once, like, working in that kitchen, realizing you wanted to go out on your own? What was your next, like, few steps to actually pursue that dream?
Yeah, like, what does it take to open a restaurant?
Well, before that, I was doing catering, and like how people just started, like, if you're a handyman or something, you just go to your aunt's house, your cousin's house, or something like that. Yeah, do a little side job. So that's really what the catering was. One of my first caterings I did was a wedding for 300 people, and I did it by myself.
Wow.
And like, I got there, everybody's like freaking out, like, where's the staff? Where's everybody at? And I was like, it's a buffet. I just gotta
cook the food,
put it out, and put it out. They was like, but people come here all the time, and they got like 12 people and trucks and all that stuff. Man, I didn't even have my Jeep at the time. I had my Mustang.
Yeah.
So I have a 300-person catering in my Mustang.
Hey, hold on, Chef Mike's got this. Calm down.
Yeah. 12 people. I mean, that sounds like they're just racking up the bill. Yeah.
Man. So like, yeah, that's like where I started. Like, it's just my experience from working in so many places and seeing other people fail, learning from their mistakes, learning from my mistakes, more importantly. And it's just like execution. So, my brother, well, I work with him now, Chef Savalas, he told me a long time ago, he's like, man, if I was your age, I'll have life by the balls. And he was like, you need to get your LLC, you need to be doing this, you need to get insurance and all that stuff. And, way back then, I was young back then, I was like, man, I'm kind of cool just doing this, making this consistent check at the country club and doing all that. I'm okay with it. But the more and more you start seeing how much work you're doing for other people, and then like finding my wife, and she's like
pushing you and
pushing me, like showing a light on me or whatever. Like, look, dude, like, you're talented, you can do this. And she comes from a successful family. Like, multiple people in her family have, owned their own businesses, ran their own businesses. And that was new for me, to see that it's possible that you can do that. So that process was awesome. I watched my sister buy her first house, and like, I didn't think I could buy a house and things like that. So I started seeing things happening. I was like, man, I can do this. And, we started putting the work together. Like, we need to start working our way out of the country club. What's our next steps? We can't play too safe. Like, you got to jump off the porch, and we had to jump off the porch. And COVID was that perfect opportunity. When that arrived, we took that opportunity, and it was just like, hey, let's do it. We'll get some loans. We'll figure it out. We're going to be in a little bit of debt. And I asked her, I said, what's the worst thing can happen? And she was like, you just file for bankruptcy. And I was like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I tell my wife all the time. I'm like,
just Donald Trump it.
I'll just start over.
You just start over. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So, I mean, you got to invest in yourself. And,
for sure.
And that's what it was. It was investing in ourselves, believing in ourselves. And I was like, man, I've been doing this so long for everybody else. Like, I know how to put menus together. I know how to cook a steak.
Yeah.
It's more of the financial side of it,
yeah,
or whatever. And that's why, like, me and my wife being a two-headed monster, that was like the deal breaker. Like, she could handle a lot of the back end stuff. I could be the front facing.
That's great.
And I can do all the labor and bring home the bacon. So
yeah, that's great, because restaurants are tough, man. They like your numbers are like down to the penny of knowing every single thing that comes through, the food costs, the labor costs. I mean,
you're working on thin margins.
Yeah, and you're working with like pennies on everything. So that just knowing everything like that is pretty tough to stay in front of. Like, that's what I think would be the hardest part about running a restaurant, in my opinion. Like,
what inspired the name White Wine and Butter in the Cajun, like, Creole style cooking?
So White Wine and Butter, I knew a long time ago. This is back in culinary school. Man, we're in culinary school. We're learning the mother sauces and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, your bechamels, your tomato sauces, and all those things, hollandaise, and we started working on, like, the white wine butter sauce. And man, when I tell you, from that day when we were working on those sauces, like, I was going home, I was staying with my sister at the time up here in Greenville. I was going home every day making white wine butter sauces and putting it over salmon, putting it over shrimp, putting it over chicken. And, like, I'm like 19 or 20 or something like that, so I can't buy wine, so my sister has to buy the wine for me or whatever. I'm not drinking it. I need to cook with. Like, I thought that was so stupid, like, to be a chef or an aspiring chef, and, like, I have to buy this stupid cooking wine with the little stupid grapes on the front of it or whatever in the sauce section. So obviously real wine tastes better than that wine.
Yeah, sure.
So it was the art of the sauce, and I just fell in love with the emulsification of taking that butter and melting it down, adding some shallots and the white wine and a splash of cream and stuff like that, just making the white wine butter sauce.
It's amazing how simple it is and but what it creates.
Yeah, and you flambe it, catch it on fire. Ooh, I fell in love with that. So I just remember sitting. I watched the movie Chef. It was like a chef movie or whatever, and I fell in love with it. And I was very passionate about that movie. I cried at the end of it because I was so happy for him. Like, I understand, I get it. You worked this hard to get your own thing, and you finally got it at the end. I fell in love with it, and I was like, right after that movie, I immediately pulled out my notebook, and I was like, I gotta start doing stuff. It took a little bit later after that before we got to White Wine and Butter, but the first thing I said would be White Wine and Butter is gonna be the name, because I love those ingredients. That's like one of the things that helped me fall in love with, like, helped me re-fall in love with food.
Sure. It's an amazing name. I mean, it rolls perfectly.
Yeah. Hashtag Butter Gang.
Yeah.
Now, what inspired the Cajun cooking?
Oh, that's my wife. That's all my wife.
And that's just the restaurant, right? Like, your catering does all types of food.
Our catering is limitless. We do everything in our catering. There's no limits on our catering. I've did quite a bit of training. I will say some of the best culinary education I got was traveling to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Just getting down to New Orleans, and I say this all the time. One of the first places we stopped was a gas station right before you cross, like, one of these big bridges going over there, and I had boudin. It was best thing I ever had, and I was like, why is this so good? And it's at a gas station. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, why is this so good? I spent a lot of time trying to figure out or try to taste something. I was like, it's not gonna be that good. It won't be that good. And I'm trying to find things wrong with it. I couldn't.
Everything was good. Yeah.
Everything was good. So my wife being from New Orleans, she set me up with a lot of chefs down there. Her stepdad used to be a server at Clancy's, a restaurant down in New Orleans. So I got a stage down there. I worked down there for a few days. Got to see their kitchen. I mean, the kitchen is small. Like a lot of places like that, the kitchens are small. They're like old houses that they've turned into restaurants. I mean, it's so cool. It's like it's mind blowing, like how cool it is down there. And just to see like the culture. More importantly, I got to go work in kitchens with like old mamas. So like older ladies in the kitchen, they're whipping up gumbo, they're making sauces. And you know, me, I'm a chef. I think I can do this and do that. I tried to stir one sauce and it wasn't time to stir it and I got my hand slapped. And she was like, "What you doing, Dad? We don't do it like that, baby. Don't do that," or whatever. And I was like, okay. And that was a struggle for me and my wife, because she would make stuff and then I would try to make it too. And she was like, "You can't do it that way." And I was like, "Why can't I do it that way? Like, this makes more sense." She was like, "It's not Cajun if you do it that way. You know, you have to do it this way." And they're so strict about it. Like, you have to do it that way. So I had to find a healthy balance between doing it with all my education and all my training combined with what I learned down in New Orleans. And it's just like a big melting pot.
Cool.
So the Cajun stuff, it really comes from New Orleans, and we saw a niche for it in the community of Greer, and we wanted to take advantage of that because nobody was really offering authentic, true Cajun food.
Sure.
Including myself. I thought that I knew how to make gumbo. I thought I knew how to make roux. I thought I knew how to make etouffees, all that stuff. And I'm looking at recipes from New York Times. Me thinking that's how you make Cajun food, and that's completely opposite of how you make Cajun food. It's a love. It's a love, and it takes a lot of time. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad she inspired you because that shit is delicious.
Thank you, bro.
I haven't been yet. I'm kind of like upset.
No,
man, we were supposed to go. We were supposed to go, and you guys were closed on a Monday. I didn't realize.
Man, that's Monday. That's family day.
We were
man.
driving there, and I was like, my girlfriend's like, "Wow, I'm looking so forward to the fries, the voodoo fries." And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Are they even open?" And she looked, and I was like,
that whole place is pretty much shut down on Monday, right? There's like two of them open.
They've changed some stuff.
Yeah.
Some people are open up on Mondays or whatever. We danced around the ideal of, we had no data going into it. We've been open about 6.5 months now. We had no data. We started off 7 days a week, and real quick we was like,
figuring it out.
I need a day. I need a day off.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
And we danced around the ideal of like maybe having like some grab and go stuff for the people who want to come in on Mondays, in partnership with the Trade Street Tap Room right next to us. We're like, hey, if you guys want to offer some sandwiches while we're not here. But now we're kind of like in there prepping and stuff like that. So we have the schedule set up. Like, we might be closed on Monday, but I have like one of the Butter Game members in there doing some prep on a Monday, and so we can try to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And people come in all the time. Are y'all open? Are y'all open?
I mean, it was packed.
I've done it like twice. I think I've walked there twice, and you've been in there like either working.
I'm on the laptop, man.
Yeah, on the laptop.
I'm trying to get ready for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
and
that.
it makes sense because I mean, like, and hopefully it worked out to where like Monday is like your lowest driving revenue day, right? Because sometimes it doesn't even make sense to be open. Like, you don't even make money, you're losing money.
Yeah, sure.
So why not just go ahead and take the day off?
It costs more to be open than it is.
I feel like that's most restaurants in Greenville are like that anyway. Yeah. So in 6 months, I mean, what's one of the hardest things that you've had to go through? I mean, just not having a game plan, trying to figure that out the whole time?
Oh, yeah, man. July, like, what the hell? Like, July whooped our ass. And, like, I'm man enough to say it, like, July whooped us. It was
like
scary.
slow?
It was scary. And we're looking around, and we're seeing the other restaurants. Thank goodness we have really good mentors. A few of the restaurant owners in the area and around Greenville, Greer area, we realized that they were closed. They closed down like a couple weeks or so in July. They take some time off in January, and we didn't really do that because we're trying to collect the data, and
just open.
We did do well on like the 4th of July because everybody was pretty much closed on 4th of July, so we did pretty well on that. But
I would have never guessed July as a
man.
That
I
makes
guess
sense,
like everybody's on vacation, and then like a lot of people are conditioned that nothing's really going to be open, and we're just in there.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, even in the moving industry, like July is typically, it's not slow, but it's typically the slowest month during busy season.
I never would have thought about that. But it makes sense.
Everybody's going to vacation before August hits, or they've Yeah.
And we're mom and pop too. Like, we're not a corporation at all. Like, we're not corporate at.
You're not spending their large marketing dollars.
No,
no.
So like, we had to make those adjustments, and you have to keep your staff motivated. People are looking around like, hey, is this gonna pick up? Like, this is like really slow in here or whatever. I'm like, well, you're still getting paid. You're still gonna get your check. We're gonna always make sure you get paid. Like, that's like one of the things I dealt with working for other people, was that sometimes I sacrifice, like, I'll get paid a day or two late to make sure, as an executive chef working for somebody, I'll get paid a day or two late to make sure the rest of my staff got paid. Because that's, as a leader, I'll survive 2 days, but you got like a few kids, you gotta go to basketball practice and things like that. Like, y'all make sure they're good, then you can pay me. But that's one thing we did, make sure that we take care of our people. Like, you'll be taken care of.
That's nice.
I keep hearing you talk about like your core team and stuff. Like, do you think you're doing anything that is different than the typical restaurant industry as far as taking care of your staff? And if so, how do you think it's like benefiting White Wine and Butter essentially as a brand?
100%. You got to invest in your people. We're nothing without our people. We have big plans to do things. We do things different. Like, one of the very important things I wanted to do was family meals. And if you watch any cooking shows on TV or something like that or whatever, they'll hint at doing like family meals and stuff like that. The main thing I want to do is just like show them that, hey, so often we're just scarfing down food, for a few minutes, like eating out of quart containers, eating out of boats.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. And like, you're sitting on a milk crate, you're hovering over a trash can, or you're in a corner just like trying to shovel some food down. And so I'm very intentional, like, with the scheduling. I care about my people. Like, if I know you have to be at school at a certain time, or I know you got to take the kids to school, things like that, like, I try to put like a time in there where you can, you got enough time to do that. If you work another job, you got at least an hour and a half. You're not leaving one job at 4:00 and then coming to this job at 5:00.
Yeah.
Like,
take a minute.
I'm gonna give you a little breather in between, and we'll figure it out on the inside. But we did family meal. That was one of the first things we did. And I brought in like a leg of lamb. We brought in some of our other chef friends. They came and had dinner with us, and we ate off real plates. I prepared everything. And, we just went around and was like, hey, let's talk. Like, what's up? Tell me how you feel. How's life going? How's everything doing? How's your family doing, and things like that. And it gets real. Like, I want people to open up and talk about their feelings and things like that. It shows
the love that you have for your people.
It shows that I actually care about people, and just we pour into them.
That's awesome.
And future plans are bringing in financial people to talk financial literacy. We plan to do like maybe stay home retreats, or once we get to a certain point, we want to take them down to New Orleans and show them the culture and stuff down there or whatever. Because I brought a lot of it with me when I trained down there. So everything, literally everything that I know down there. I learned from a chef, like, don't try to keep stuff to yourself. Like,
for sure.
Like, show people how you're only going to be as good as that. So like, I show a lot of people like everything I've learned down there and things like that. So we like to take care of our people.